Hello and welcome back to the Time to Calibrate podcast. This is episode 24. I am Bob Allaby from the Time to Go Travel and Timepieces YouTube channel, and I am joined by my co-hosts, freelance writer Marc Levesque and Brent Robillard from the Calibrated Wrist. Today we have a very special guest, Felix Wallner. Felix is the CEO of German brand Hanhart Watches, and Felix, welcome to the show. Really glad to have you.
Thank you very much for the invitation, and thank you for having me.
Yeah, no problem at all. So our first order of business here on the show is wrist checks. We begin all shows with the wrist check. As our guest today, we'd love for you to go first. What's on wrist today?
A watch that I'm wearing very often since its release. It's our Preventor HD12, where we have a special steel developed with it, so it's a very good daily watch. It's very clean. It has a very clean dial. So yeah, for me, one of the watches that I like to wear on the day-to-day basis, because it's just something that you can wear with everything. You can wear it when it's hot, when it's cold. Yeah.
Awesome. That's a cool watch. Brent, how about you?
Well, I'll probably have a few questions for you, Felix, about that watch a little bit later. I was really impressed when you showed it to me in Vancouver, so we're hoping to have it in here for review shortly too. That would be great. But in light of your participation here today, I actually put on the Hanhart 417 ES Heritage Flyback, and it's got that iconic red pusher, which we'll talk a little bit more about today as well. But actually, Bob and I were in Toronto last night. We had a beer together, and he passed this along to me so that we could do some stuff here at the Calibrated Wrist. And as always, very impressive piece.
100%. Just a few minutes ago, my video on that watch was posted to my YouTube channel. I haven't posted on Instagram to let everybody know yet, but loved getting some time with that watch. Marc, how about you?
Well, in order to change things up, because I've been talking about and wearing my Omega Planet Ocean for several weeks now, and people are pretty bored of hearing me talk about it, I've got the Timex, what's it called? Deep Water. It's a deep Timex GMT. I've got this in from Highlander Fox as a giveaway for Instagram. So I've been wearing that for a little bit. It's a pretty fun watch, very inexpensive. I mean, solidly built, very impressive for what it is. And one of the cool things is, I don't know if you can see that on camera. I know this is an audio podcast, but the tang buckle passes the leftover bit of the strap underneath. So no keepers.
Oh, that's cool.
So that's kind of cool. I like it's a little neat design. So fun watch for the summer. Hopefully giving it away soon.
I think that Ming does that same thing, actually. The pass underneath like that.
Yep.
What about you there, Bob?
Well, Marc clearly failed the assignment today. I'm also wearing Hanhart.
I don't have a Hanhart.
I have the 417, the flyback Panda, and this is we did the swap last night, Brent and I. So I have this and another Hanhart in.
Is that on a bund?
For a little while? Yeah, it is on a bund.
That's a lot of leather.
It is a lot of leather, but I'm liking it.
It looks good on you, man.
Yeah, it's very cool. So a few weeks ago, we had the opportunity to meet you as well as friends out at the Vancouver Timepiece show. It was great meeting you guys. We had a lot of laughs. How was the trip? I believe you mentioned it was your first time in Canada, or at least your first time in Vancouver. Was it worthwhile visiting the Great White North?
Yeah, we enjoyed it really a lot. I've been to Nova Scotia before, and this is a beautiful area as well, but I've never been to the West Coast, and Vancouver was stunning to us. It was really, with all the water around the city, and especially where the show was. It was at the shipyards where you had the skyline in front of you. It was so amazing for us. And then we did this bicycle ride around this peninsula, the half island. What is it called again?
Stanley Park. Yeah.
Stanley Park. Yeah, that was so great. We saw some. What are the animals called in the ocean? Sea lions? No.
Sea lions and seals.
Seals. Yeah, we saw some seals. And, when you come from an area where the ocean is far away, it's always fascinating, and the vibe in the whole city, we loved it. We liked it a lot. We heard it's expensive to live there. I mean,
Very expensive.
maybe for obvious reasons, but we enjoyed the trip for the city. And what was for us as well very nice was to see the audience that visited the show, and on the 2 or 3 days, one day was special invite only, but the other 2 days, all the people that we met were really, really, we had great talks. We had talks to people that are highly educated about watches as well. So that's what we love about those shows, is to connect with people that as well see a lot of watches. Because for us, the important part about it is not only to bring our brand to more people or to show our brand, but the direct feedback from all these people is so important in the development of new watches. And for us, it's been a new experience in Canada. I mean, we did a couple of shows in the United States already, in Germany. So it was a new experience, but yeah, it was great.
One thing that was kind of cool, because there's such a mix of brands there. You guys were probably one of the oldest brands at the show, and right beside you, I think was actually the newest brand at the show. I don't know if you recognize this watch or not. Noctua. I will always think of you guys together. You guys had a little bit. So Noctua had at his display to maybe help get a little attention, and it definitely worked. He had a flamethrower at his display, and Felix enjoyed some time with that after the show outside, which was kind of a cool experience. That's how we kind of bonded, to be honest with you, Felix.
No, it was really JP with Noctua was right next to us. He's such a great guy, and we talked to him, and we were like, what is that thing? You know, in Germany, I think you would get arrested immediately.
Well, that's the thing. Is this Noctua based in BC or nearby? Because how did he bring that in? They definitely bring that in the airplane.
Edmonton.
So he drove?
Yeah. I think he drove. Yeah,
because there's no way you're bringing that on an airplane.
No, and then we said, yeah, what is it? Yeah, flamethrower. And then we say, yeah, well, does it work, or is it only like, you know, it's a piece to show? No, it works. You can try it. And we were like, what, for real? And then he said, yeah, let's go outside after the show. We did. It was so great.
That's awesome. So I've read in a couple of write-ups that you began with Hanhart in 2014 as co-CEO. Curious as to how that happened. Was there a connection to the watch world beforehand, or were you maybe into watches personally before working with Hanhart?
I personally was not in the watch business at all at the time. But in 2014, the situation for Hanhart as a brand was very special. There was, in 2008, there was a change in ownership. And back then, the son-in-law of Willy Hanhart was owner of the brand, together with a group of people from Munich. And in 2008, the people from Munich, they sold their shares to Swiss investors. And in 2014, they sold their shares back to the group in Munich because their strategy did not work out the way they wanted. And at that time, it was a very difficult situation for the brand. And that was as well why the new owners, the old new owners, so it went to Switzerland, they came back, and the new old owners, they said, well, we don't believe in investing a lot of money, and we don't think that money is the road to success. We think that having someone young and, well, not only young, but as well committed to work and, they wanted to try something new. We can put it as well that way. And back at the time, Simon was already at Hanhart for, I think, 7 years. He was production manager there. And I was working for the new ownership group. And then I was approached, and Simon, so we were approached, if we want to take the challenge, if we want to try to bring this old brand to new life. And that was when it was, of course, for us, a great chance. And it was really very, very nice for us to get the chance to build up this old brand again. But it was a very difficult time. As you can imagine, if there is someone that is telling you, well, you can do whatever you want, you can reinvest all the money that you earn, but you don't get any money. It's very, very difficult to build up a watch brand, even though it's old, without any marketing budget, without any budget to develop new models. So it was a very, very rough start in 2014. But we knew that we don't want to be here only for a short term. So it was a long-term approach. It was a long-term project for all of us. And we loved the things that we did, and we still love the things that we do. We love it each year more because we have new possibilities. With all the developments that we did in the last years, it opened up so many new opportunities that we're more excited than ever. But that was the whole idea behind the change in management in 2014, was to say, well, we don't want someone that has been in the industry for many, many years. We want to bring in new ideas. We want someone dedicated to build up the brand. And it was a rough time at the beginning. But now we're really happy that we took all the challenges and we invested all the work. And that's how it came along.
Congratulations, man.
Absolutely.
Glad it went well for you guys.
I want to dig into those early years a little bit more, because it's one thing to start your own brand from fresh, and it's another to inherit something that has such a rich tradition and such a long period of production. So what were those early years like for you as you were uncovering the archives and you were uncovering that heritage? How did you decide your direction forward?
Yeah, the main difficulty for us was at the beginning we had, so what we took over from the old management was stock. So there was already a watch collection there, and we needed to make the decision, do we want to continue the way the watches were, or do we want to head into new directions? And there were things that we liked, there were things that we did not like, but the biggest limitation at the beginning was that we did not have really a lot of budget for new developments. And that started in 2016, 2017. So one of the first developments that we did, and where we invested a lot of money, and not a lot of money, but a lot of time to get all the details right. That was really the 417S. It took us over a year longer than we expected, because we were not happy with the first prototypes, and we did everything new. In watchmaking, 1 millimeter is such a huge, it's a lot, and we wanted to have all the things perfect when we do a new watch that has such a strong heritage. And that was, I think, the moment where it kicked off for us. Before that, we tried to promote the old collections, and that was much harder than bringing in something new. And when you look at what we're doing now, it's still a bit comparable. Of course, we always get inspiration from the past, but we think that for us, it's not only recreating old pieces. I mean, we do that with the 417ES heritage, or with all our 417ES, 415ES models, as well with the Pioneer models. We try to recreate that magic from the past, but especially now with the new Aquasphere, it's as well a model where we said, okay, we want to have Hanhart DNA in it, but it's a completely new design. So when it comes to new developments, we always look at the past, but it's not only recreating old models.
Cool. So I've spoken with a few people, yourself included, a little bit about your production facility. Recently, the owner of Hanhart Watches, I was talking to him about it. He had been there at some point in time, and he said it was like stepping back in time. I think it was built in the 30s. Can you kind of tell us a little bit about the facility there?
Yeah. The building is, how do you say in English? In Germany, there is a saying where you say it's at the same time it's heaven and a nightmare. I don't know what the English expression for it would be, but it is a building from the 30s, and Hanhart is producing there since 1934 without interruption. So that is something that is very unique as well for the watch industry. Well, a short period of time after the war, I think there was a stop in production, but apart from that, there was no interruption in manufacturing there. And this is something that you don't see that often in the watch industry, and you can feel it almost in the whole building. We have some floors that have been renovated, where we have our museum, where we have our showroom, but especially the production area and the machinery is still relatively old, and it's mostly used for the stopwatch production. In the stopwatch field, we do more than 95% of the movements on our own. So it's a very high degree of production capabilities or production as well on the movement itself. And the thing is that, especially when you look at the stopwatches, we're doing about 4,000 to 5,000 mechanical stopwatches a year. And given those production numbers, it just does not make sense to invest into high-end equipment, high-end CNC machinery, because we would have really long times to pay these off. So we work with those old machines. They work very well. They have a great precision. And for us, we always say there is the museum, the real museum, and there is our production, which is as well kind of a museum.
That's cool. How big is the team there? Like, how many people work out of the
building there? We're 25.
25?
Yeah.
Wow.
So still a small manufacturer.
Yeah, there's an old customer of mine in southern Quebec that ran a manufacturing facility for, unrelated to watches, but they had equipment there from the 1950s and 60s, and it was old. It was very precise. It did the job very well, but apparently, because of the aging population and the people that work there, the people that service those machines are now retiring, and the people that are coming on board afterwards do not know how to fix these machines, because everything was done. Is this similar to you? I mean, are the people working those machines, if they break down or if they need service, or can they operate them? Can they service them?
Yeah, so for us, it's more than, or the bigger challenge is that one person knows everything, and so the knowledge is very concentrated. Of course, other people know some machines, but one of the bigger challenges over the next years will be to get this knowledge passed over. And you're 100% right. With this old machinery, it's very difficult to get spare parts. We do our own toolings, because it's more effective. And what is as well interesting when producing those parts, we don't want to do so many things on our own. It's just because given the amount that we're producing each year, many suppliers over the past 20 years told us, well, given those production numbers, we don't supply you with the parts anymore. So one supplier told us, well, you can buy my machines, but I won't produce the parts for you anymore. I bring these machines up once a year to produce your parts. And then we say, okay, we're going to buy the machines. So we're doing much more than we want to do, but we don't have any alternative.
Yeah. And you mentioned that there was a period after the war where the company had gone dormant for a little bit. Now, I remember in the 1990s when I discovered the internet and we were looking into watches, and Elang and Son had reopened their manufacturer in Germany. This was a big deal back then. When Hanhart went dormant, how long was that for? And how did the company get started again?
Yeah, so after the war, Hanhart was part of the French occupation zone. And Willy Hanhart was a Swiss citizen. So before the end of the war, he flew to Switzerland. So he went to Switzerland, and right after the what is it called in English? The agreement was signed.
Armistice, I guess.
Yeah, he went back to Germany. He was then, like everyone who was in who had a company somehow connected to the German life before that, was arrested and had a trial. And his biggest, do you say allegation? Or what his biggest allegation was that he did not hand over all the chronographs to the French people because you know it was a very hard time then. Many people suffered from, or they did not have enough food, and it was a very difficult time. And he used the watches as a payment method. So he was not happy at all with what the French did, because they took all the machinery from Hanhart and moved it over to Lip in Besançon in France.
Yeah, just on the other side. Yeah.
And they wanted to produce then chronographs there. And according to our the history that we have, Lip was never able, even though they had the machinery and they had engineers from Hanhart come over for a couple of times, they never were able to recreate the chronographs. So Hanhart needed to build then as well chronographs for the French. And those were, I don't know if you're familiar with Vixa, V-I-X-A.
I've seen that brand name before.
They have as well, beneath the brand Vixa, they have Type 20 below. So those were the watches for the French army produced by Hanhart. And and if you look at the pieces, they look exactly like our 417ES models. And so what happened after the war, Willy was arrested for not giving all the watches to the French, but was released a short time after that, and then they started production again. So I think it was maybe 1 to 2 years that there was no production. And what is interesting, because you mentioned the 90s or the 80s when the quartz crisis hit, Hanhart was very innovative, especially in the 60s, 70s, 80s. And Hanhart, when you come to our museum, we have as well samples there. Hanhart had an electromechanical movement at a very early stage. Hanhart had its own quartz movement at a very early stage, and Hanhart sold more than 40 million quartz movements before the quartz price from the Far East dropped below $1. Then it was as well done for Hanhart, the quartz business. But that was a very successful time for the company when already many mechanical only companies in Switzerland struggled a lot. Hanhart had the best times in history because they've been so innovative at that stage. But then in the late 80s, early 90s, when the quartz business was dead for Hanhart, there was as well a very, very hard time.
That's incredible.
You beat me to my next question because I was about to bring that up. I noticed that in 1972, Hanhart developed the quartz movement, and same thing, what you just mentioned. So my follow-up to that was, it looks like there's a bit of a renaissance for high accuracy quartz movements. There's brands like Bruno Solm, who make quartz movements visible through display back, and they make a new plate to put on top of the movement, make it look pretty. Is there any possibility that Hanhart may revisit using quartz movements in the future?
We don't have any plans because when we look at our priority, it's just we just don't see it. We have so many nice old mechanical movements that we would love to rebuild someday. It's a tough task, and we're just about to start with it. We know it's going to take a very long time, but when we look at new developments, we don't think about quartz. We're thinking more about rebuilding maybe the old caliber 41 that we love with the column wheel, the old flyback movement,
vertical clutch, and all that stuff. That'd be so cool.
Yeah, so for us, it's just we don't really see the quartz movement within our brand.
Okay. I also noticed on your site, because I was going through the history of it, I'm not as familiar with Hanhart as my co-hosts, but I noticed that there was a collaboration with Dornier and their legendary Dornier DOX seaplane and Irene Dornier's 2004 UNESCO endorsed world tour. Are there any plans for any other collaborations in the near future?
Well, we do collaborations regularly when there is a good fit, and right now we're working on something as well. Just recently, or 2 years ago, we did a collaboration with a German motor racing team. So you will see new collaborations in the future, but right now it's for me hard to talk about them publicly.
It's okay, no one's listening.
It's just us. It's just
That's funny.
So we mentioned a few times now, like Hanhart is obviously really well known for its chronographs, particularly its pilot-inspired chronographs. It has those deep historical roots and all that sort of stuff. But you also mentioned your Aquasphere, and there's a few other things in the collection that are also sort of forward-thinking. How do you strike a balance between living up to that legacy and veering off into new directions?
So for us, when we look at the models in general, and as well when we look at the history in general, like I explained, the most successful times for Hanhart were those when Hanhart was highly innovative, and that was when you think back in 1882. Adolf Hanhart started the company in Switzerland. He opened a small repair shop and a retail shop for watches. He then moved to Germany, but the big success came through his son, Willy Hanhart, who in the 20s, he saw at a sports event that there were not many stopwatches, and they were only very expensive, and all of them came from Switzerland. And then he sat together with a watchmaker from his father and said, we need to develop a stopwatch for the mass market. And that's when the whole, big growth of Hanhart began. And after the times of war, it was as well, Hanhart tried to do things that no one else is doing, tried to be innovative on all fronts. And that's what I think is the most important lesson for us to learn. And that's why we're as well, like with the HD12 seal, with the Aquasphere on the design end, it was when we started the development of the Aquasphere, that was already a couple of years ago. Again, it took us a long time to get all the details right. But when we started with the development, we said, okay, we think even though we are mainly known for pilot's watches, we're as well known in the racing field, but we did not have a proper dive watch. But we think that as a watch brand, a dive watch is always something that is a good addition to any collection, and it as well proves because the requirements for a dive watch are very different when you compare them to the requirements for a pilot's watch, and they're tough, and we wanted to prove that we're as well capable of doing a proper dive watch. And that's when we started the development. For us, the most important thing was, first of all, of course, keep our distinct design, but as well technically we wanted to be comparable with the best dive watches in the market. And so when we look at collection wise, we try to implement heritage, we try to look at the future, and I hope that in the future as well, people like our designs.
Yeah, well, your most recent reissue, obviously we mentioned it already, the 417 ES. That's kind of iconic for your brand, but it also involves innovation, like you were saying. So why don't you tell our audience a little bit about some of the innovations that are in this latest version of that watch?
Yeah, so the latest 417 ES, which is the 417 ES Heritage Flyback, to be honest, all the parts of the watch have been there before already, but that is where what we talked about before, when going to those watch shows and getting this direct feedback from people. And there are many people out there that know our brand very well, and they know all the details. And we received, over the past 2 years, many requests, or many people asked us, why don't you build the 417ES with your iconic red pusher? And in watch development, you always need to make decisions, and especially when you want to reintroduce a model that has been there in the past, then you need to make decisions. Okay, what do you want to do historically correct? What do you want to adapt? And what do you want to do completely new? And on the first model of the 417ES, for us, it was always clear that we want to have sapphire crystal on top of the watch. It's just the best material that you can have as a covering for the detail for the dial. Then we needed to make the decision, okay, do we want to have a see-through caseback or a solid caseback? On the first version, we said, okay, we want to have a solid caseback. Then we had an anti-magnetic case as a further development. And when it comes to the red pusher, the historical 417ES was produced without the red pusher. The red pusher was before that. There was on the MK1, MK2, the old caliber 40, 39 and 40. And these caliber 40, 41. And these calibers, or these watches, had the red pusher as a signal marking for pilots to not accidentally push the lower pusher. We like to tell there is a legend that we like to tell much more, which says that the pilot left his home and on the plane looked at his watch and saw that the pusher was was painted with red nail polish from his wife, so that he always thinks of her. And yeah, so we did the first version without the red pusher. And people kept asking, why don't you have the red pusher on the 417ES? And that's where we said, okay, we need to have one with the red pusher. The second thing is, until the 417ES flyback heritage, we only had the column wheel flyback movement with the Panda and reverse Panda dials. And that was a request that we received as well very often. Why don't you have the flyback movement with the all black dial? And we just combined the ingredients, adapted the dial, and that's how the 417ES flyback heritage came to life. And that's why as well we used the slogan "because you asked for it," because it's really what we were asked for.
Well, I'm really glad you told that story about the red pusher, because had you not, I would have asked you about it anyway. You had mentioned it to me in Vancouver, and I'm not sure if I believe it or not, but it is a great story.
Oh, my secret is
I
out.
believe
I,
it.
I put
I
nail
believe
polish on all my watches.
So I have a kind of a question about like the process, like when it comes to design, especially maybe on a newer watch like your Diver. When it comes to design and eventually production, do you personally have a hand in that, or are you more on the business side, or a little bit of both?
No, I think that is something that is maybe a bit unusual as well. The main ideas come from Simon. Simon is my colleague, my co-CEO. I'm one of the two co-CEOs. So we the main ideas for new watches usually come from our end, but we need to admit as well that our watchmakers and all the people working for us, they're so great. They're highly involved as well. They really as well, when they have suggestions, ideas, they always bring them up, and I'm really happy that we have an atmosphere where everyone can say whatever they want, because it's as well shows you the things that you're doing wrong. So when it comes to the design, we think of, okay, what are we going to do next? And Simon and I are highly involved in it, but we as well try to get all the people in Güdenbach on the table to where we have first style options versus first drawings. We ask him, what do you think about it? What do you like about it? What don't you like about it? How do you think can this watch be made better? And as well, when it comes to new movements, we have very, very good watchmakers that are watch aficionados as well, and they know what movements are being used from other manufacturers and what things can be done in a different way. And so it's a very active approach to design a watch. And of course, in the end, not everything is 100% democratic, because sometimes when as well, when I feel I have a strong opinion about something, then we want
You're
to
the
push.
boss.
we want to push it through, but still, in general, the best argument wins, and I think that is the way. That is as well a good way how to make our watches better.
That's awesome. That's great.
Well, piggybacking onto Bob's question about process, I'm curious about the Primus series, because more than even the Aquasphere, this one seems to be a much more modern and avant-garde approach. So what went into the decision-making there, and how does that fit into your overall Hanhart collection?
Yeah, so there is a very interesting story to that as well. That was before our time. So when the Primus series was introduced, that was back in 2008, when the Swiss investors took over. They wanted to make Hanhart all new. And that was a time they moved. Well, Hanhart was founded in Diessenhofen, Switzerland, but in 1902, moved to Germany. So the majority of the history is German, but there is a small part Swiss history as well. And that is why the Swiss investors, they opened the headquarters in Diessenhofen, where the foundation was. And they wanted to change the brand completely. They said, okay, we're going to remove the Pioneer series. And they brought in the Primus collection. And the Primus collection was designed by a very, very popular design team around Geneva. That was as well responsible for very, very popular designs from major brands. So the whole design itself, I think, is outstanding, but it never had, Hanhart never had the budget to communicate it in a way like the big players do it. And then it was as well a different time, bigger case sizes were more popular. Now it's the Primus series has a case diameter of 44 millimeter. So it is a present big watch. We still love it. It has flexible locks, so that is something that is very unique. So the locks adjust to your wrist, and the whole idea back then with the design was take parts from Hanhart's DNA and bring it into a completely new design. So when you look at the Primus chronographs, you will see all of them have the fluted bezel. Hanhart's past is very much about the fluted bezel. Then they have the dial layout with the small dials at 3 and 9 o'clock. So, many call it the bi-compact style display. This is very typical for Hanhart because back in the 30s, 40s, 50s, all the Hanhart chronographs had that dial setup. So the whole Primus series has as well that dial setup. Then they have the red pusher, but in a more modern way, it's anodized aluminum and not like we have on our 417 years flyback heritage. It's high ceram. It's a ceramic compound, and so the whole approach is much more modern, but it still has some of the core features of Hanhart chronographs. So that was the whole design idea. And I think still today it's an outstanding watch, and we have ideas on how to bring as well that collection to a new age, but this is something of a more long-term project.
The Preventor is another watch that intrigues me in your collection, and it's one of the newest as well. It also marks a bit of a departure from the pilot aesthetic, maybe not so much as the Primus does. But I'm curious, when you were making the decisions to build this watch, were you aware of just how popular it was going to be? Because it seems to have really resonated with collectors. You can't keep it in stock.
Yeah, not at all. It's for us. It's still, when it comes to production, you always need to invest a lot of money because you need to purchase all the parts. You need to produce them before selling them off. And we're still not, as I said, we don't have any investors. So we always need to look at balancing it out. So we cannot say we order amounts that we don't really see a demand for. And we were so surprised with the demand for the new Preventor HD12. We liked the design from the beginning on, but it's always very hard to estimate how people are going to react to it. And I mean, like with all watches, we put all our heart into it, and we invest a lot of time. And when you see that success, it's so satisfying. It's so great. Yeah.
Fantastic. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. But we're putting up production numbers. The difficulty with the HD12 is the special steel treatment. It's the first watch in our collection where we introduced the new HD12 steel, and that includes a two-stage process. So in the first stage, the base is 316L steel that is used in many watches, but then in the first stage, it's a low temperature, so below 500 degrees Celsius, carbon dioxide molecules are being infused into the surface of the watch, and it changes the material itself. So it's not a coating, it changes the material itself. So it's not something that can come off. And on top of that, we put a hardened layer, PVD coating, a transparent one, to make it 2 times hardened. And it takes time. So when it is sold out, it's not as easy as with other watches to say, okay, we're going to restock, because it takes a much longer time. And that's as well the reason why it's so hard for us to keep the production up with demand.
So what you're saying is that the steel is a carbon sink, and you're saving the planet by buying these watches. It's all about environment. I mean, Hanhart, how forward thinking is that? That's perfect. I think we just sold a whole bunch more. You're in trouble now.
It's a great way of seeing it. I never thought about it.
You got a marketing angle. So unlike my co-hosts,
it's carbon molecules, not carbon dioxide. Did I say carbon?
Why did you have to make it? What? No. It was better the way I said it.
You have to spin it the right way.
So unlike my co-hosts who are general watch lovers and chronographs and all kinds of stuff, my main focus has always been dive watches. And I noticed a couple of years ago when you introduced the Aquasphere, it was quite the departure for your brand. And we talked about, the Preventor and the Primus. But it seems that every brand wants to have a dive watch. Again, it proves the capabilities of a company to create a watch that can withstand, water pressure. And no one really needs a Ferrari to go 200 miles an hour, but it's nice to have it because it can do it, right? So same thing with the dive watch. I have a Planet Ocean that's rated to 600 meters. If I go 2 meters in a swimming pool, it's pretty deep for me. So what was the thought behind creating the dive watch? Was it just so to show that you can do it, or was there demand? Were your clients asking for a dive watch?
Well, our clients, and that's the thing that where I say you need to evolve as a brand. You need to move. You cannot be steady. Our customers before that were not really asking for a dive watch because they did not think of Hanhart having a dive watch. And that's where, but we, there was in the Primus collection, there was already the Primus diver. And that was a watch that I wore in 2014, 15, 16 a lot. And
it had an internal rotating bezel, right? Under the glass, I think, if I remember.
No. It was from the Primus collection, but we always said it's we love the design, but it's more of a beach diver. So it's more like the beach watch. You can wear it at the beach, but it's not a proper dive watch. It was at the beginning, it was water resistant to 10 atmospheres, 100 meters. Then we increased it to 300 meters because we said, well, or 30 atmospheres because we said below that it's not really a proper dive watch. And still then with the flexible locks, it had some flaws when it came to diving, and there was no distinction in the lume between minute and hour hand. So there were some details that we thought can be improved, but we liked the overall design. And that was more the point where we said, okay, first of all, the technical challenge. We want to prove that we're capable of doing a proper dive watch. And as important, we already have some elements of design that we really like a lot. And when it came to the case design, I remember one day we said, okay, how do we want to do the bezel, and especially the numbers on the bezel, because they are very distinctive. And they had been on the old Primus diver, they had been like that as well. And then we said, okay, because we would like to know how the watch would look with other numerals on the bezel. And we made some drawings with a presentation where we had different options of bezels. And we asked in Gutenbach, we asked the whole team. We asked in our shareholder group. We asked a couple of people as well that are not watch collectors. Which bezel do you like best, or which one would you prioritize? And most of them took a design that was familiar to them. Like, all the Rolex, Omega, whatever, dive bezels, they have a font that is, I don't know, it's, well, maybe more standard, that you're more used to. And then at the beginning, we thought, okay, maybe to make this watch more successful, maybe we should do a design that is a bit more standard. And a couple of days or 2 weeks later, we sat together again, and then we said, but when you look at very successful designs today, many of them have been heavily criticized at the beginning as well. And now they are the things that make the brand distinctive, that make the brand differ from one another. And that's where we said, no, we really want to have that Primus diver bezel. We want to have those numerals that are highly distinctive, because maybe some won't like it, maybe some will like it, but in a couple of years down the road, people will recognize this dive watch for this design. And if it's a more standard design, then you don't have such a strong brand identity. So that was just, I thought about that when talking.
No, that's fantastic, and you're absolutely right. I agree that the brand identity is instantly recognizable as a Hanhart, even though it is not a chronograph and it is a dive watch. Yeah, agreed. Now, I have to apologize to you because when I went to the Vancouver Timepiece show, I made a mental note to come and see your booth because I wanted to see that dive watch in person. And my friends here talked about Hanhart for a long time. I was helping at the Isotope booth with the owner there. And, you know how it is at these shows, you're very busy. And there's a lot of other brands that I've worked with and talked to over the years. So I tried to make my way to your booth. I never made it. It was, what you think is a 5-minute conversation, an hour later, you're still talking to the person. And because oftentimes you talk to these people over the internet or, sometimes on the phone, but you never meet them in person. And when you do, you connect. And so unfortunately, I apologize. I didn't get a chance to meet with you. But I want to make that right. Are you coming to the Toronto Timepiece show this year?
Yeah, I'm coming to Toronto as well, and I hope we have time there to talk about it.
Absolutely. I'm going to start with your booth this time, and then make my way around to other people that I'm going to miss.
Actually, we should probably mention, because the tickets actually just, I think, went on. They're not for sale; they're free, but you can get them as of yesterday. So if you want to, I think is it timepieceshow.com to get the tickets for that?
Yeah, I spoke to Jason yesterday afternoon. He said 900 tickets had already been taken up.
So I don't know if there's going to be any flame. I don't know if there's going to be any flame throwers there, but Jason does have a big collection of samurai swords. Just saying.
Oh God, that's trouble.
So Felix, looking ahead to things like Toronto, etc., I just assume that Hanhart is going to continue exploring its deep heritage, and it's also going to continue to innovate. But what we really want to know is, can you offer us any teasers? What's in the pipe?
Again, Felix, no one's listening. Just tell us. It's just the four of us. We're just having a private conversation.
Well, one thing, and this is something that we've been asked really a lot as well. So it's more like listening to customers again. When you look at our bracelets, we don't have a micro adjustment yet. We're working with the dive extension. So we hope that we're going to have soon some sort of intermediate solution. And then on the longer end, we have our own development as well in the pipeline. This is something where I think that, like with the design as well, when it comes to developments in general, we like to do things on our own. We like to think about new ways doing things, and there is something in the pipeline. And of course, I mean, something that might maybe be a bit obvious as well. If you look at the Aquasphere collection and what it is called right now it's not really a collection. There is a lot of space next to the blue Aquasphere, so I think there is room for imagination, and especially as well when it comes to the Preventor HD12, there is as well room for other models. So I think these are some things that I can tell. Of course, we want to surprise you as well with a couple of things.
So what I'm hearing here is there's going to be a pink and a purple Aquasphere coming around the corner. Got it.
No, it's as well for us. Something that we like to do a lot is as well work with new materials, and that is something that this year we're going to present something, and next year we have some thoughts as well. So yeah, some things coming up.
Okay.
So you're not going to tell us, is what you're saying. Come to the Toronto Timepiece show, everybody.
Exactly.
So we've got a question from a listener that we asked people to pose on Instagram and elsewhere. This is from Ken. He goes by Central Seconds on Instagram, and he asks, Hanhart has such a rich legacy rooted in precision and performance. How do you envision telling that story to a new generation of watch enthusiasts visually, in a way that honors the brand's heritage but feels fresh and relevant today?
Visually. So the main challenge with visual representation of the history is that video production especially is expensive. And we're working on videos at the moment as well, but it's just the difficulty to really make it look well. And that's why there is not so much video content out there where we're going to produce more. But when it comes to how are we going to show it in a way that it's attractive as well for a younger generation, I think our approach is more that we don't... When you look at all the major brands from Switzerland or as well from Glashütte, they have the resources to produce all those high-end videos where they show the history in a very nice and modern way. Of course, we would like to do that as well, but it's insanely expensive, so we can't. Our approach is much more, and this is something that is, it's so amazing how many people visit us in the Black Forest as well. We want to be more the people that are really approachable. We want to connect with our customers. We want to talk. We want to answer to all the questions that they have, because we often have the feeling that with the bigger brands, you have sort of this feeling that it's hard to connect because they're so they try to keep this distance. And for us, it's more if we want to make a visual representation of the history, we usually tell everyone, please visit us in the Black Forest, and we're sure you will have a great time there. And I think as well, the way we talk in our manufacturing is a way that is very open, and that is for us as well something where we say we think that we can do in a different way. You know?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. You do realize that come visit us in the Black Forest kind of says Harry.
Yeah, I'm sorry. It might be very difficult for...
There's a little witch in there that she eats children.
Well, but we are very happy that some content creators visited us in the past and will as well. This year, we have a couple of people coming over that will visit us, that will show what we have. And I think that is a very good way of as well telling the story. And as well, I mean, there are so many creators, including you out there, that are bringing horology in a way to people that hasn't been there a couple of years before. And I think with given all those opportunities, all those possibilities, there is already this movement to bring our history to interested people.
Yeah, I was about to say that Bob and Brent are both exceptional content creators that bring a level of quality, visual quality and audio quality that surpasses a lot of what's on there. So I highly encourage you to get them involved, especially the Calibrated Wrist and magazine, the next issue coming out. And I think they can definitely help.
It's already in the works.
So you didn't need the plug then.
Yeah.
This is for all those other brands listening. So Felix, you said that you had received some questions on Instagram as well. If you want to maybe share them and answer them.
Yeah. So one of the first questions that we received was, how do you like Fortis watches? And of course, we love Fortis watches, and especially the guys behind the brand. We meet them everywhere. So shout out to the Fortis, to the Fortis guys, and as well to Fortis. Then we received another question. Well, how proud are you of the history and everyone there who are helping to continue build on it for the future? Well, it's pride. I don't know if I'm extremely proud of the whole team. It's hard to say I'm proud of the history because a big part of the history I wasn't part of, but I feel like there is a legacy that, and we want to really. I mean, the company is now since 1882. It is more than 140 years old. It feels more like there is maybe as well a certain responsibility to bring it in a good way into the future, so it will be there in 140 years as well. So when there is the 280 years anniversary, that Hanhart has a much longer book with all the history inside. So that's more the way we look at it.
No, when you get there, you come back on the podcast and we'll all talk about it.
Well, let's see what technologies will keep us alive.
Yes.
Then there was, we've received questions onto when certain models will be available again. Please write us an email. I don't think it's a topic for the podcast. And there was one more question that I wanted to bring up. I'm not able to find it right now. Well, I think that's it from my side.
Very good.
Well, Felix, we really appreciate you taking the time for us and our listeners today, as we're all a big fan of the brand. It was a lot of fun to chat with you. Thanks again.
Thank you so much.
Time to Calibrate is available anywhere you find good podcasts. If you enjoyed what you heard today, please do hit the like and subscribe. We'd also love to hear from you in the comment section or even in our new Discord channel. Until next time, thanks for listening.